We'll start. It's parashat VAYISHLACH, and there are a few things I thought we'd learn together. First of all, parashat VAYISHLACH usually falls out before Yud Tes Kislev. This year, Yud Tes Kislev is Shabbos, so Shabbos parashat VAYISHLACH is actually Yud Tes Kislev. Yud Tes Kislev is called the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. Why? Because the Alter Rebbe was released from prison on the 19th of Kislev. I'm not good with dates, but I think it was 1790.
Robert, when was that? When is the anniversary for the wedding?
On Shabbos.
On Shabbos.
This week.
Is that Shabbos Memorial?
No.
19th of Kislev.
So, and I'll just revise one or two things about Yud Tes Kislev very quickly, because it is such an important day for Am Yisrael. The whole birth of Chabad, the Alter Rebbe was the founder of Chabad. There was the Baal Shem Tov, and then the Baal Shem Tov had a Talmud called the Mogid of Mizrich, and he had a Hebrew Kadisha, a secret society of very holy guys, and they became the heads of the various Hasidic dynasties, Bills and all the various. Kotzker Rebbe started off anyway, all the dynasties were from that group of Talmidim of the Mezrich and Mogid. The youngest, one of the youngest of those, and certainly held to be the most brilliant, was the Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, who is known as the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe was a genius, they say, once in 2,000 years. And he, for example, at the age of 12, he, probably the most difficult part of the Rambam's Mishnah Torah is Hilchos HaKodesh, which are the laws governing Rosh Chodesh and the moon, and he has a section there on astronomy where all the Gedolah people, he was 12 years old, pre-bar mitzvah. He gave a lecture to a group of the most intelligent scientists in his city, and they were just overwhelmed. That's the word in Hayom Yom, that they were overwhelmed. He was a genius of extraordinary capacity. He's the author of the Shulchan Aruch and the author of Tanya. Tanya is the written Torah of Chassidus, and it has all of Chassidus captured in very, very carefully chosen words. It took him 20 years to write it. Every word was polished and repolished and refashioned, and it's become the basis of Chassidus in general, Chabad Chassidus in particular, and it's the Tanya that is extrapolated by the various Rebbeim through the... But there was a problem, and we're going to bump into this problem as we go through the Shir. The problem was this, that there were two levels of learning until the Alter Rebbe, until the Baal Shem Tov. One level was the revealed Torah. That means the Chumash, the Mishnah, and the Talmud, and the Midrash. All of that was revealed Torah. Secondly, there was there was Kabbalah. And Kabbalah was a very restricted area of learning. It couldn't be taught in public. It had to be taught from one Rebbe to his Talmud. To be able to learn Kabbalah, you had to be over 40, you had to be married, and you had to know the whole Shas. That's your entry point. And very few people were skilled in Kabbalah, but the level of skill in Kabbalah was extraordinary. But there was very, very little overlap between revealed Torah and Kabbalah. Came the Alter Rebbe from the Mogged of Mezrich and from the Baal Shem Tov, and he did something totally revolutionary. He explained how Kabbalah and revealed Torah is all one. That all Torah is all one. All life is all one. God is all one. But he did it in a way which was absolutely intellectually and emotionally arresting, because he took things that everybody was used to, Shema Yisrael, simple things that people were used, and explained the Kabbalah depths in the halacha, and in a way that was available for anybody to understand. You didn't have to be a Talmud Chacham, it's related that he used to have what's called Vekas. He used to, the Baal Shem Tov used to have what's called Vekas. Shabbos afternoon, he'd go into a sort of trance, Mincha time. One day he was in one of these trances, his soul went up to Shemayim, and he met the Mashiach, and he asked him, when's he going to come? And the Mashiach said that he'll come when the wellsprings of this new Torah was available to everybody. But you have to understand that Jews have been very vigilantly protective of our tradition. We haven't allowed the Gentiles or anybody to water down what we got from Moshe Rabbeinu and Har Sinai. We're very particular about it. If somebody wants to do something slightly different, he's met with enormous opposition for good reason, that we are very careful. I mean, you have to understand that the Sefer Torah, the thing that you see rolled up in Shul, for 2,000 years has been all over the globe, where communities have had no access one to another, and 3,500 years later, there's no Torah scroll that's different from any other by more than 1 or 2, 1.5 letters. Do you understand this? Communities that had nothing to do with each other for 1,000 years, and still they're pristine. Why? Because Jews have been very, very zealous in opposing change to what we believe is authentic tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu, from God through Moshe Rabbeinu. So when the Alter Rebbe seemed to be doing something revolutionary, in the interests of Yiddishkeit, good people denounced him and wanted to make sure that he was taken care of. Now, we're not murderers. So what did they do? They stumbled on a truth that he was encouraging Jews to send money to Israel to help in Tzedakah. And since Israel was under the Ottoman Empire rather than the Christian, so-called Christian belief system of Russia, and they were their enemies, so they said that he's supporting the enemy financially. So they denounced him for that, and he was tried for that and acquitted. And when he was acquitted, he was released on Yud Tes Kislev, and he said that when he was in prison, the Baal Shem Tov and the Mogid came to him. I'm just repeating, I don't understand what this means, came to him, and he asked why he was there. And they explained to him that everything in Gashmias is a reflection of Ruchnias, and that there was a kitrug, there was a accusation in heaven that he was doing things contrary to Torah by releasing what was up until now secret information. And so he said, should I stop? And they said, on the contrary, you should increase. And then the verdict came out, and it is seen by Jews all over the world now. At the time he had a lot of opposition, but now it's seen as a heavenly tick to what he did. That was the spiritual proof of the correctness of what he did. And we celebrate that as Yud Tes Kislev, and that's on Shabbos. Why am I saying all of this? Because nearly everything that we learn together is from the Alter Rebbe, essentially. I mean, his are the mothership Maimorim, which the other Rebbeim have extrapolated and explained and made easier and so on. But it's vital to know that and it's a big day in Chabad. I'm sure you will have a Farbrengen in your shul on Yud Tes Kislev. I don't know if you've got anyone coming, but
I don't know if we have.
I know in Tzemach Tzedek they have Rabbi Kesselman, who's a...
We have commercial dinner too.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but it's a day of Farbrengen, and it's a serious, happy Yontif, if I can put it like that. So, let's take some examples of the way that the Alter Rebbe set up learning, which our Rebbe has extrapolated. Now, talking of geniuses, I have a friend, Rabbi Philman, and we were talking once, and he told me that I mentioned that I read that the Alter Rebbe was a genius once in 2,000 years. And Rabbi Philman said that that's definitely true, and so was the Rebbe, which everybody knows. Everybody acknowledges that. His opponents, everybody acknowledged that. The Rabbi Philman said that the Alter Rebbe was a genius in learning, photographic memory, and incredible intellect. He said what was extraordinary about the Rebbe was that he was a genius in everything. He was a genius in communication, in organization, in education, in speaking, in writing. There wasn't anything that he touched. I mean, I don't know if you know, but he invented the inflatable raft
in the Navy.
For the Navy, yeah. So when there used to be the Lag BaOmer parade going down 770, the Navy used to come and march past the Rebbe and salute him, you know. So, I want to try and take a couple of things out of the parashat VAYISHLACH and show you this coloring of Chassidus. So let's start with this. Let's start with Shlichus. Parashat VAYISHLACH means "and he sent," and the pasuk begins, "and he sent malachim." Malachim can mean messengers. Malachim can mean angels. Rashi says malachim mamish, which means actual angels. That Yaakov, this is where we are in the story. Yaakov and Esau have had their differences, and Yaakov has run away to Haran. He's spent 20 years elevating Haran. He has left Eretz Yisrael, gone to left his father's house. We did all of this last week in Parshas Vayetze. Vayetze means to go out. He went out of his comfort zone. He went into the pits of degradation and klippa, the antithesis to holiness, and he elevated that whole area. And that process is what we learned about in Parshas Vayetze. VAYISHLACH takes this intellectually and spiritually to a different level of energy. And I need to try and explain this. When Yaakov went to Haran, he went personally. So the work he did, the what we learned last week of saying no to that which is contrary to Hashem's will, or converting the bad to the good, he did personally. He did it as a tzaddik who was, whose influence effected that change. But you need to understand that, and without this we can't move forward, you need to understand that there is a limitation to what a person can achieve with his own merits and potential. Let me give you an example. I've used this example in the Shir many times because I love it so much. When my son was growing up, there was a young Chabad rabbi in Sydney who my son looked up to and who helped my son a lot. And he used to go down to the Double Bay Sheaf on Saturday night, Motzei Shabbos, in a kapota with his black hat, and go into the beer garden, and he used to sit there, and Jewish kids from Moriah would congregate around him. You know, he'd put down a fire, and they'd come and warm their hands and feet at the fire. And he used to fabring with them until closing time. He used to drink with them and fabring with them until closing. And he made a lot of kids from, a lot of kids who were going out with non-Jewish girlfriends and so on. He changed their lives.
And he put the film on them?
Of course, not at night, but I'm
sure
sure he had an association with a lot of them. So, and he did a lot of extraordinary good work for them. But I want to ask you something. Could the Lubavitcher Rebbe go into the sheaf in Double Bay, Motzei Shabbos? I mean, it's not a place for the Lubavitcher Rebbe. There are certain situations where you need a shliach, where you need a messenger. A shliach means an agent. Like in the legal relationship of principal and agent, you have a mishaleach, who is the person who sends and the shliach, who is the representative. And sometimes in life, more can be achieved by a representative than by the person themselves, even though the representative is empowered by the person himself, and even though the person carries his influence with him. And it says that a shliach is kamoisoi, exactly like the mishaleach, the person sending him. But nevertheless, he brings to bear his own special talents. Yeah, close it if it's cold.
Yeah. Do you want to close?
I think, yeah.
I'm happy. I like the fresh air.
Oh, okay. So the shliach brings his own special talents and can often achieve more. Now, let me tell you, at the deepest level, we can't stay at this level, but just let me illustrate it to you. Hashem, by choice, of course, chooses to empower humanity to make a dira b'tachtonim. We've learned this over and over again, that why did Hashem create the world? We've been through this, but let's just skip to the bottom line, to make a dira b'tachtonim, to make a dwelling place for him in nature, which at the moment is impossible. Why? Because nature is a curtain against seeing godliness. That there's godliness there is the same thing as when you have a neshama and you have a guf, you have a body and a soul, you have a soul and a body. You don't see the soul. You see the effects of the soul, but you don't see the soul. We don't see God in nature. We see the effect of God. Blind Freddy can see that the world is purposeful and runs according to a program, but actually seeing God palpably in nature is impossible. That's what nature is. It's a curtain against revealed godliness. What's the whole purpose of creation? That humanity make out of that impossibility a reality. Now, could have Hashem done that himself? He can do everything. So why? But he chose to do it through shluchim. And humanity is God's shluchim in making a dira b'taktoinim. Humanity in general, and Am Yisrael in particular. If we get time, we'll see what that difference is. But that is the extraordinary level to which, if you want to really understand the concept of the shliach, of the koyach, of the power of the shliach, he's not only doing what the mishaleach wants him to do, he's doing it better than the mishaleach could do. Otherwise, he wouldn't be sending him. So now we're being introduced to a new energy in Parshas VAYISHLACH. In Parshas VAYETZE, Yaakov's going out and doing all of this, and we learned all those lessons last week, or many of those lessons, some of those lessons last week, and you learned that nothing stands in the way of Ratzon, and we learned about Eskafia and Eskapka, of saying no and effecting change, but that was all personally. That was all talking to you and me about what our extraordinary potential is. And the Rebbe was fond of making people understand that we don't even begin to tap into our potential. But 99.999% of humanity have no conception of the koyach that they have. So, I'll give you a simple example. When Steinsaltz, the next door neighbours was related to him. Aiden Steinsaltz.
Yeah.
So he was a very big Talmud Chacham. He ran the Tzemach Tzedek Shul in Yerushalayim. He was a great international personality. He authored a translation of the Gemara and many other things. And he wrote into the Rebbe in his middle 80s. And you'd think he'd know better. He wrote in and he said, Rebbe, I need your help because I want to show you my timetable. And my wife's telling me it's going to kill me. I can't, right? Gets up at 4 and does this, davens here and does a shir here and does this and then in the hospitals and then the charities and goes to bed at 1:45 in the morning and sleeps 3 hours. And so he says, but every one of these things needs. I'm needed there, and I don't know what to take out. So what should he asked the Rebbe, what should I take out? So the Rebbe wrote back to him and said, why do you have koyach in your middle 80s? Because Hashem's giving you the koyach, because it's necessary to do the good that you're doing. You want to do less, you'll have less koyach. In fact, what you should do is add to the list. Right? You have to understand this is a perspective, right? That he thought that he was using up his potential. The Rebbe said, "What? You're not using up your potential. Sleep less. Do more." And that was a constant thing with the Rebbe all the time. So, but having said that, there are limits, and the next stage is sending a shliach to do the job. And you'll see why that's important for you and me personally, because I'll just take you to the end first and explain that we function you need a lot of Torah to understand this, but you've got it. We function at both of those levels. We function at a personal level in one form of our personality and character, and we have another form and personality of our character, which I'm going to explain in a minute, where we have to delegate certain jobs. So let me take you to that. L'chaim, l'chaim. In this week's Sedra, we have one of the wildest stories in the Torah. Yaakov is going to meet Esau. He learns that Esau still hates him, and he's coming to get him with 400 men, an army of 400 men. He's got no one. He's got his 4 wives, or 4 ladies, and his children, and a few servants, and his flocks. And coming to meet him is this twin brother of his, who is sworn enemy, who wants to kill him, and he's coming with an army of 400 men. So he takes his family across the Yabok River, and then he returns back for some small utensils. There's a whole lot of Kabbalah on what that's all about. And when he's there, that night, he is attacked by an angel, a malach, who is the guardian angel of Esau, of his twin brother. There's nothing in Gashmias that isn't first in Ruchnias, in spirituality. Physicality is a reflection of spirituality. He was going to be fighting with his brother, so his brother's malach was there to fight with him first. And the story, when you read it, is mad. They fight all night. They wrestle all night until the dawn. And Yaakov wins. And when he wins, he says to the malach that he wants a blessing. He won't let him go until he blesses you. Now I ask you, imagine you go to Bondi Junction, it's late at night, a group of gangsters come, somebody jumps you, you're fighting with him for your life, and you finally beat him. You say, I need a bracha. You kidding me? You're going to need a bracha? And not only that, but so we haven't time to do it in detail, so let me do it quickly. What's this fight about? It's explained in Kabbalah, which is taken into Hasidus, that by the Alter Rebbe, that this whole fight was the precursor of our 2,000 years of Golos. Esau is the father of the Western world, with whom we've been in Golos for 2,000 years. The whole wrestling match was a blueprint of the fact that we won't be left alone all night. What's all night mean? All of the Golos. We will not have a spare moment to breathe. As I said last week, our history is a river of blood and difficulty. But in the end, we win. We are victorious. I mean, we see what's going on. We know what happened 70 years ago in the Holocaust. We know what happened with Kremnizer. We know what happened in Spain. We know what happened in ancient Greece and Rome. Everybody has been trying to kill us for all of this time. This tiny little band of people without a country, without a currency, without without anything, often not a common language, and yet Am Yisrael Chai. Why? Because what is promised in this wrestling match is that although Esau will make it very difficult for us, always, without interruption. At the end, we are victorious. Now, when Yaakov asks Esau for the brocha, the malach, for the brocha, and the malach doesn't give him one, but what the malach says is, "What's your name?" And he says, "My name's Yaakov." "What's your name?" Malach says, "You don't need to know my name, but from now on, you won't be your name will be Yisrael." Now, we've done this in the Shir many times, but not to this point where the Rebbe takes this in this sikha. Let me just explain first that these name changes, which are of enormous spiritual significance, took place with Avram. Avram used to be Avram, and then he became Avraham, right? Sarai was Sarai and became Sarah. And from the time that they were renamed by Hashem, we don't use the previous spelling, either in speech or writing or pronunciation, unless you're learning and you need to explain Avram's condition prior to his name change, or Sarah's condition prior to her name change. But otherwise, we don't use the previous name. With Yaakov and Yisrael, we not only do use them, but they are used very frequently. But you need to know that there's a key to which is which. And the key to it, putting it as succinctly as I can, is that Yaakov is a Jew's life in Gashmias, and Yisrael is a Jew's life in Ruchnias. Yaakov means a heel, and Yisrael means the officers of Hashem. So one is a statement about spirituality, and one is a statement about physicality. Now, of course, Yaakov is a tzaddik. So Yaakov is dealing with the world as a tzaddik deals with the world. So if he's in business, he's not a crook. If he's dealing with other people, he's helping them. But we're talking about Yaakov functioning in Gashmias, going to work, paying his taxes, paying his bills, not going bankrupt and defrauding his creditors, and then taking millions out through his children's pipeline or whatever it is. He's an honest man, but we're talking about Gashmias. We're talking about going to work, making a living, feeding his kids, fixing their teeth, paying his mortgage, etc. Yisrael is a whole different level. That's the level you are Shabbos when you're davening and concentrating on the davening, when you bris your grandson